guys, is Dr. Steve Pieczenik, who ran psychological warfare operations for the State Department, the CIA, you name it, helped found Delta Force with General Schumacher, and of course Boykin. And of course is a best-selling author with Tom Clancy, produced a lot of big Hollywood films. Steve Pieczenik Talks is his latest book. StevePieczenik.com is a really great website, looks better than Infowars.com. Pieczenik thinks Sandy Hook was totally staged. I've looked at all angles. With the media caught staging babies in incubators and all these lies, I said, did they kill a bunch of kids? Was it all actors? We saw a lot of anomalies, or did they really kill some kids? A lot of anomalies, but Pieczenik believes it's totally staged. He exposed that they would roll bin Laden out 14 years before they did. And of course, it's come out. I've talked to military folks, Navy SEALs, Army, people on the boat. They say there was no bin Laden. But these are known liars. If we didn't question them, we'd be insane. But what is happening as a psychological warfare, expert who's fought for this country and now fighting to try to restore the republic?
Well, Alex, it's always a pleasure to come on your show, and it's always a pleasure to follow you and Roger. The tete-a-tete was funny, but you kind of answered your own question. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Jealousy is, I would like to wear something that you have, your jacket. I would like to have a show like yours. That's jealousy. But what you're seeing now is far more destructive, and that dynamic is called envy. In your question, you answered the very element that the media can no longer address, the normal media, or whatever they want to call it, the mainstream media. You're number one, you create an alternative narrative. You are very clear. You stood by your positions. You called what it was, a false flag 9/11. You've been with us for 20 years. You were never cowed. You were never beaten down. So what the media is doing, they're trying to take you down at the same time that they're taking themselves down. Now, the issue of self-destruction has been there for quite a while. You have talked about it. I've talked about it. Roger's talked about it. And what's happening is you're seeing the final cries of an elephant, elephant and a donkey that's basically dying. And the media can no longer understand, why didn't they get on the internet? Why couldn't they develop what you did, Alex? And in effect, what this is all about is really the dynamic of envy. They need to tear you apart. So Megyn Kelly comes along, she's self-aggrandizing. She says she's really a reporter, when in fact we know she's everything but a reporter. Her interest is in her narcissism and her beauty. And as her first husband said, she needs a wife. And her second husband became a very good wife for her. I have nothing against that husband. He happens to be a writer, and I wish him the best. But the bottom line is very simple. You will be in the position, while they try to tear you down and tear themselves down, of helping them. And helping them means the ratings for NBC, CNN, ABC, they're all in the toilet. The industry is in the toilet. I can tell you, as part of the Producers Guild of America, the Writers Guild of America, they don't know how to develop content for the internet. Now, along comes this very bright individual from Texas. They don't even know where Austin, Texas is. You're not from Hollywood, you're from Texas. And suddenly your ability to have a repartee, to be incisive, to be funny, to be able to take yourself not that seriously, but at the same time to promote truth, transparency, and be incisive and witty, that is very dangerous to the mainstream media. So what do you have? You have an Anderson Cooper, nice, sweet guy, openly gay. That's not an issue. The issue is he forgets to tell you that twice. And many other times he's been in the CIA, he had a CIA internship. Then you have Fox News. They went after Sean Kennedy. They went after all the people in Fox News. I knew Roger Ailes. I liked working with Roger on the Bush administration. But he had played out whatever he needed to, and he did very well at Fox. Now, what happened, the Murdoch sons are in, and they really don't know how to develop the content, not because they're stupid. It's just part of the mainstream media where content is king, and they don't have it. Now, how do you explain to Hollywood and to the networks that you have an individual here who may or may not have been a comedian, God only knows what your past is, but I think it's wonderful, who comes out of de novo and creates an entity that's so powerful that you're in the millions. They can't talk about that at CNN. They can't talk about it at CNBC. They can't talk about it on anything else. So you have a racial...
Well, I mean, Infowars isn't that good, but let's expand. Because they're projecting they've destroyed themselves with their lies.
Correct. That's part of the envy. They're self-destructive, but they want to make sure they take you down. Now, in that process, they really don't have the tools to take you down.
I don't understand. I mean, are they really that dumb?
It's not that they're dumb. It's just that they're incompetent. They really have never been in a scope where you have been in that area. Let me explain it. Whoever you were, whoever you might be, that's a separate issue for them. What they can't understand is how you came out of de novo, literally out of nowhere, and came out of this area in Texas and developed an audience that they can't seem to reach. So the only way they seem to reach it is to mock you.
It's this community of American patriots who aren't left or right, who just want America back. They hate us.
Well, they hate you. They hate me, too. Let me tell you.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm going to tell you, I have an agency that I've worked with for 20, 30 years, and I've said to them, look, I want to write about the alternative media, what happened, how it was done. They don't want to represent anything to do with Alex Jones. They categorically said to me, there's no way we're going to represent you and dealing with Alex Jones. They don't mind writing.
And they don't get that they're not even getting the new blood they need to survive. They're so stupid. But you're the psychiatrist here. All I know is we're going to beat these people. But it's not that we're even that good. It's that they're that pathetic. Is that accurate?
Yeah, both statements are true, but you are really far better than you understand. It's not just the fact that who you are, what you've created, and all of the personnel with you has a leveraging factor that's so great exponentially, you cannot find that on the main channels or on cable. And let me give you an example. The head of Netflix, who I assume is quite a competent guy, he just lost $110 billion on one show. He lost $99 billion on another show. These are shows directly to Netflix. They're in trouble. Amazon will be in trouble with content. Hollywood is in trouble with content. TV is in trouble with content. Why? Because there is no content. There are only so many times you can have a Jason Bourne. There's only so many times you have Jack Ryan. And there are only so many times soldiers can shoot up a scene. When an Alex Jones comes along and you don't know what the narrative is going to be, it puts everybody on notice.
So it's a loss of control. It's not Alex Jones. It's the maverick spirit of America. What do we have to worry about? Let's not get too confident here. How is the empire going to strike back? And then what are other trends coming up?
The real major trends for the United States, believe it or not, is going to be water wars. I wrote about it in State of Emergency. I am now engaged in a water war in Bradford County in Florida, where, in fact, mining companies like Mosaic are trying to come in and create phosphate mine and contaminate the Santa Fe River lake. And the same thing with other RV parks that are coming in. So America is going to have a lack of water. You're going to see that in California, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico. And this is going to be one of the biggest issues. The issue of federal power will devolve. I told you the FBI is not as relevant anymore as they thought they once were. What we have that's relevant are the local police and the local county commissioners and your state governors. The more and more we devolve power, the more important it becomes to really understand how important you have to be as a member of the community. You are a maverick, but you reflect the maverick quality of Texas, the Southwest of Florida, and all those individuals who had to do it on their own. Despite the fact that your family came from, a doctor, an orthodontist, a surgeon, all those elements were irrelevant to the fact that you went out on your own and created Alex Jones and Infowars. So once that happens, that is the model for our people. In other words, you're not going to depend on a pension. You're not going to have a steady job anymore. We have what we call a gig economy, GIG, meaning you're going to go from job to job, and you're going to have to figure out among our people how to create businesses that generate cash, that allow you to have a certain style of life, But you can't depend on your pensions anymore. You can't depend on the government to take care of you. Every one of you who thinks that there's a pension out there waiting for you, you better check it very carefully, because those pensions are invested in hedge funds, which are doing very poorly on the markets, not because of Trump and not because of any other issue, other than the fact that the hedge funds are becoming antiquated. You can't build 5 to 10% out of billions and billions of dollars. The second thing that's coming in is devolution of power in Europe. Now, I said it years ago that Catalan would break away from Spain. Madrid refuses to let the Catalonians, who really
10 years ago, you laid the Brexit out. You said, don't worry about the euro. It's all a joke.
Correct. And it's still a joke, because the only thing holding it up, and Trump was right when he said, I don't like Germany, I don't like Merkel. Merkel knows that she's manipulating the euro so that she can make it as the equivalent of the Deutschmark. In effect, the Germans have created a dependent relationship on Southern Europe, Spain, Italy, Greece. Greece has defaulted again for the 4th time. Now, if we had Puerto Rico defaulting 4 times, we would say, you know what, we don't want it in our statehood. The reality is that we as an entity are really becoming redefined along the Southwest corridor, the Midwest. The Eastern Coast and the West Coast are really not relevant anymore. Shipping will come in from Florida, New Orleans, and around Texas. And that's basically where you're going to see the engines of the United States.
So the country really is collapsing into the Midwest, into Texas, into Florida, and the Southwest, and reorganizing.
Correct. I wouldn't say it was collapsing. I'd say that it was reorganizing, because we are around the major rivers. You're on the Mississippi, we're in the Missouri. We have all the major rivers going down south.
And so let me ask Dr. Steve Pieczenik that as he finishes up, author, researcher, on what's happening in this country, about how he sees this devolution back to the people, back to the states, that Trump clearly recognizes and is talking about. But looking at the battlefield from your perspective and your sources, where is the restoration of this republic right now?
The restoration of the republic has to be defined in 2 ways. What you see with Comey, Mueller, and Wray, these 3, what I call white Anglo-Saxons, the elite of the WASP, who went to Yale, Princeton, William and Mary, these are process people. These are people who go to the jury. They go to write papers. They don't create anything that's substantive. In contrast, Trump put up 2 men who are very quiet. You don't hear very much about them. They're the multi-billionaires. One is Roth, and the other one's LaFrac. Both are famous multi-billionaires who have created major installations and complexes, industrial complexes, apartment houses, and construction sites in New Jersey, Long Island, and Queens. So what we have here now is the beginning of the end of the process, which was heightened by Obama, and we're now going into the reality of building structures, infrastructure, building up our towns, our cities, our counties, and starting to care about where America is locally. We don't care as much about what's happening overseas, because Mattis will take care of that. Tillerson has to take care of that. But the reality right now is that Trump is focused very much on what Roth and LaFrac are doing.
And wouldn't you say he's delivering? Because Trump is obsessed with true economic real world and is delivering. I mean, watching the establishment cheerlead against our economy and against everybody's 401ks really angers me, Dr. Pieczenik.
Well, again, it's the issue of envy. It's the issue of the fact that people really don't understand how the business of business works. You come in, you fire people, you put in people in place without spending too much time. You don't go into meetings. You don't, put it quite frankly, you don't bullshit. You get things done. And the only 2 concerns that people like myself or you or LaFrac and Roth have is it coming on time? Is it under budget? That's it. But in the process of Washington, it's totally irrelevant, those 2 questions. And what you have, in fact, is process overtaking substance. But those days are gone now, because we don't have money for it. We don't have a capacity to handle that anymore. We have to focus in on...
Sure, so we got Mueller and them trying to block the president while he's trying to jumpstart the economy with defibrillators. Dr. Pieczenik, you're a psychiatrist. I mean, the shrillness, the hysteria, it's like drunken toddlers running around beating people up. Yeah, I mean, what does this signify to you?
What it signifies, again, what I'm telling you is the toddler's either drowning or he's suffocating in his crib. And the answer was, we've talked about it for quite a while. What you're seeing is the death throes of the end of the mainstream media, the political parties. What you have done, David, you, a group of others, Steve Quayle, we all started an alternative dialogue, a narrative that they cannot shut down, nor do they understand it. And at this point, all they're doing is throwing mud balls, and it has no effect whatsoever. We just
so, as a psychiatrist that predicted this, and a psychological warfare expert for the Pentagon, State Department, you name it, what do you expect in closing, the next shoe to drop in the insane toddler meltdown?
Well, they're going to try an impeachment narrative, an impeachment scenario against Trump, and it's not going to work. And then they're going to mock Trump again, and that's not going to work. And at the same time, foreign countries will try to align with different elements of the Democratic Party to, in a way, to impair Trump or inhibit him from executing what he needs to do on foreign policy. But remember, we're focused in, not as isolationists, we're focused in on the United States. The devolution of power.
Yeah, we're not going to sell out America anymore. Dr. Pieczenik, StevePieczenik.com. Folks can find your latest books there. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. And have a good day.
Thank you.